Oh, look at that. I'm live. Sorry. I tried to start this a minute ago and it wasn't cooperating. Anyway, this is Ervin, one of the founders of AquaLocate. We're on our, this is AquaLocate live from Texas, our normal Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time chat. Anyway, I was going to start, my intent today was going to start with some case studies or successes, but I just got a bit of a panicked call from a potential client in Idaho who said his first thing he said to me is, I'm having a well drilled on my property and they're at 300 feet and they still haven't hit water. I guess I should have had an AquaLocate done before I had the well drilled. Now, that may or may not be the case. I don't know because I haven't had a chance to get the address or do the research. But what I would suggest to you is if you haven't done research on a piece of property you're interested in or a piece of property you own, do some research. If you don't know how to do it, contact us. If you've done it through AI, still contact us because we're going to dive into the details that you may or may not get with some other search mechanism or information, because we're used to looking at existing well logs and kind of dissecting them a little bit, and just knowing what the wells are in the area may or may not give you the big picture. So please do that, but don't get to the point of panicking. Don't wait until a point of desperation if you can avoid it. Do your best to not do that, because it's got to be stressful. We have another client that we did some work for a couple weeks ago, and honestly, I get a lot of messages from him as he's preparing to drill a well, because he spent a lot of money, we'll just say, on a fairly large piece of property. He's got stuff to do, and he's very panicked because his first well didn't work out right. Now, part of the reason for that is because he hired the wrong drilling contractor, to be perfectly honest. And again, I think I mentioned this last week. I'm not even sure he's a licensed drilling contractor, which is always kind of sketchy. And anyway, listen, if you guys have any questions about your existing property, you need some research done, please contact us. We would love to talk to you and help you for free. I've actually talked to 2 or 3 people today that just need some advice, some direction. We have actually one of the case study successes I'm about to talk about, they're right here, is a client that we did work for, and I'm trying to help him get through the process of existing well, and maybe help him avoid drilling another well if that's possible. Don't forget to message us here if you have any questions. Share this video now, or whenever you see it, share it with somebody you know that has a property that may be preparing to drill a well. Let them know they can contact us. It's free. I talked to a lady in Georgia today, actually, who was a little concerned about pricing. She kind of had a budget, and I tried to help her, give her as much information as I could to her and alleviate a little bit of her concerns, but give her some resources so she could talk somewhat knowledgeably about the drilling process with her prospective drilling contractor, so she's not just blindsided by somebody that's not looking out for her best interests. And of course, I left the door open for her to contact us. Okay, we're going to go right into it. So first success we're going to talk about, this guy's name is Jerry. In 2016, early 2016, I think it was March. Actually, I went and looked at the data again today. The ground was really wet, I remember, because I looked at the data. We took some notes. So it was definitely in the March time period. And we did some data collection for him. The reason why he called us is because he had a well drilled just weeks before he called us. And it was drilled to, I think, the first well was 297 feet. And the driller says it's 0.3 of a gallon a minute. Now, before I give you all the other details, whatever the driller says at the time of drilling is not accurate unless they've dropped a pump down that well after they've fully developed that well and done a long-term drawdown pump test. It usually takes 4 to 8 hours or sometimes more. The yield that they give you is a guess at best. It's not accurate. So don't get too stressed before you give up and say that well's not going to work, or you let them fill it in and abandon it. Contact us. We could talk you through the process, have a discussion with you, and see if maybe that well is repairable, or if something can happen to make that well function in the short term anyway. Because you already have a hole in the ground, you're going to pay for it whether you like it or not. So you might as well see if you can make that well work. Anyway, Jerry didn't do that. He contacted us after the well was drilled. Get a little bit concerned. He has 11 acres and he needs a water source. They don't have rural water or city water where he's at, and he needed our help. So we did some exploration. We found a number of sites that he could drill on, and based on area history, wells ranged anywhere from, I think, like 40 or 50 feet all the way up into the hundreds of feet, like 400 or 500 feet, something like that. So it was a big range of depths. It was really hard to figure out. There's rock types in the area that cause what we call the velocity of the seismic energy we use to be faster in some cases. So we kind of estimated it on the conservative side, like we always do. We gave a maximum drill depth of between 160 and 210 feet across the board on the report, and gave a yield estimate, conservative yield estimate of 0 to 3 gallons a minute. Obviously, it was a risky drill, and he knew that, but he needed water, so he chose to drill, even though there was some risk involved in the drilling part of it. Ultimately, the driller drilled to 241 feet. I'm not 100% sure why he drilled to 241 feet, because when I looked at the well report, again, it's right here. This is a well report. He makes no it doesn't, I just can't see on the well report what the purpose was drilling beyond actually maybe 190 feet, because unless Jerry told him to, I didn't get that detail. Anyway, he drilled a little deeper than he probably should have. Ultimately, the driller reported the yield at 5 gallons a minute. Again, what have I said about the driller's estimate of yield? It's not accurate. Okay, so 5 gallons a minute sounds like a good well, but it's not accurate. First of all, I know they didn't develop the well. You can tell based on the well report. And most drillers don't do any kind of major development anyway. So 5 gallons a minute sounds like a good well. Looks like it might work. It worked out for him. But when I talked to Jerry today, I asked him a little more about the well. That the reason why he called us is he thinks he needs another water source because it's not keeping up with what he needs. Even though he was really happy with it, he told me in no uncertain terms he was extremely happy for the results, and he knew he was taking a risk, and he was really happy what the driller said to him and how the well turned out. However, based on what I talked to him about, the driller put an 8 gallon a minute pump in a well that he said was 5 gallons a minute, which doesn't make any sense at all. The logic is, I don't see any logic. Anyway, so before you let the driller or whomever put a pump in your brand new well, no matter what they say about yield, you need development, and you for sure need a pump test. Then the pump can be sized and things can be determined for that. Otherwise, what happens if you put a pump that's too big in the well's going to be constantly cycling. So it's going to draw down to the pump. It's going to shut off for a prescribed period of time. And it's going to kick back on after that period of time. And then it's going to do it again and again and again as you're using the well. And that creates damage over the long term. And it causes problems, will cause maintenance problems with the well, and it increases the risk of failure, which may be what he's facing. I don't know. We're going to help him work through the process. And honestly, I'm hoping we don't go back out there. I want him to make this well work for him and his wife. I don't want him to have to drill another well. So we'll do everything we can to mitigate that. Still, nonetheless, a success. I'm happy that he was happy about it, and I'm happy he called us again 10 years later to help him kind of solve the current problem. And hopefully we could do that again and help him not drill another well. That would be ideal. So the second one is an Oklahoma project that we did, I think a year and a half ago. It was a bit of a complicated process. When somebody asks us for help, we'll send out a couple documents. One of them is a document that talks about the drilling process so that you're very informed as you talk to a drilling contractor about the process, what they're going to do, what they should do, and what it helps you figure out costs and things like that. The other one is a document that talks about testing conditions. And those are important because we can pretty much test anywhere, but we have what we call standard operating procedures or testing procedures, and then we have alternate testing procedures. The standard operating procedures are the norm, and we need to know if we need to be prepared for the alternate testing procedures. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't read the document very thoroughly, or they don't know enough about their property. We went up there, we couldn't do the testing because it was solid sandstone at the surface. And when you have solid sandstone, you have to use the alternate testing method. So we regrouped. We came back to our office. We had a chat with him about what it would take to do the testing. And then we eventually rescheduled and went back up, and we use the alternate testing method, which is kind of cool because it's not new, but it's newish. I think we figured out this method a couple years ago, and we've now used it, and other operators of the GF7 or GF6 systems have used it very successfully. And we used it on this project, and it's a lot more work. It takes probably double the amount of time to do the same amount of testing. We were able to get it done because we're a no quit kind of company. If you need our help, we'll come and help you. If we can do it, if we can work it out, we're going to work it out, and we'll do our best to make sure that we give you the best information possible. Anyway, so our estimates for this project, it's a very risky area. I mean, there's a number of non-productive wells in this area. So it was risky just on that alone. And then the testing conditions weren't standard. So that means that data collection would be more complicated. But our estimates were 400 feet maximum drill depth, and again, a 0 to 3 gallon a minute estimate. And he eventually had a well drilled. He drilled to 360 feet, which was less than our maximum drill depth. Great. We're happy with that. Conservative. And the driller reports it's 3 gallons a minute. Okay. For anybody that's watching, what does Ervin say about what the driller says about yield? It's not accurate. So what do you need? A pump test. So I don't know if he's gotten a pump test. All I know is he's got a productive well. It produced some water. Hopefully it produces more than 3 gallons a minute. Because when I say the driller's estimate's not accurate, it can be not accurate on both sides of that spectrum. It could be overestimated or underestimated. Most of the time, from my experience anyway, the driller underestimates. But I have plenty of experiences where they've overestimated too. So got to be a little bit careful. Don't make any assumptions. You can find out. It's really easy. A pump test doesn't take that much time. It's not horribly expensive, and you already have a lot of money invested in that hole in the ground. You might as well find how it's going to help you or what it's going to do for your house, so you're prepared for it. Because if you know the yield, you could bank on the yield through a pump test. Then you can size the pump, but then you know if you need storage. And you'd be shocked at how much you can do with a couple gallons a minute. A couple gallons a minute will support a home with proper storage and management, no problem at all. You will have more than enough water. Now, if you want to irrigate 10 acres, then you need more than a couple gallons a minute. But if you're looking at supporting a home and doing some gardening and things like that, some basic gardening and not excessive water use, you're gold. A couple gallons a minute will make it. You can make it happen with proper storage. By the way, if you want a simple diagram that will show you how to do your own storage system, send me an email. Send me a message. I'll send it to you. I drew it years and years ago for myself and another client, and I send it out to people anytime I think they might need storage. I send them this simple diagram. Just about anybody that's reasonably mechanically inclined can do it. If you can do it, give it to a plumber or kind of a general handyman. I will bet you that most handymen can do this. And it's not crazy expensive. And if you already have a well on the ground and it's already producing some water, get a pump test done or do a pump test yourself if you can. I have instructions for that too. Send me a text, send me a message. I will send that to you for free. I will help you in any way I can. And then you can determine what your storage system needs to be. So please don't panic. If you have a well that's you're not sure about, please just give us a holler. Let us know how we can help. We would love to help you. And the last one, this one's from a long time ago. I was trying to figure out the date on this one. I think that it's, it's 2004, 22 years ago. And I was looking through some of the case studies and successes, and I thought this one was worth having a chat about. So this one was done in Washington State. I know some of you may know we started our company in Washington State in 2001. We were there for 15 years, almost 16 years. And we operated all over the country, all over the world, but we operated out of Washington State. We relocated to here in Texas about 10 years ago. And so since we've been doing that, but we've been around, we've gotten around. I think I've done work in 35 states and multiple countries. I've consulted with people from more countries than I've ever been in. that own our equipment or just need help. I mean, we don't have any equipment in Greece, and I've interacted with 2 or 3 people from Greece about their water well situation or how they can deal with their water well situation. So this one, we'll say this guy's name is Matt. It is Matt. I won't give you any more information than that. Again, Western Washington, we did this in July, so it was super, super dry. I remember it was really difficult testing, actually, which is weird, but we had to kind of figure that out. But we did the testing. Now, the area history was pretty solid. His property was in an area that already done some work, in a general area of done work, and it's over the top. His property lies over the top of an aquifer called the 𝐂𝐨𝐿 Formation, and it's a glacial aquifer that is pretty stable, pretty consistent. If the driller doesn't do anything too weird, they should get water between 50 and about 100 feet, more or less. And honestly, if a well produces less than about 6 gallons a minute, something went sideways in the drilling process, because really most of the wells should be, it's just a flat, gravelly aquifer that was, the deposits come from a glacier a few thousand years ago. Anyway, so we did the testing. The estimates we gave Matt were between 8 and 10 gallons a minute, kind of yield range, with a maximum drill depth of 90 feet. So there was a bit of a range. I think it was like 70 to 90 feet, but the maximum depth we said is 90. But in our report, we said he should expect most, if not all, the water above 70 feet. Okay, so we were, based on what the data looked like, we saw very little chance for improvement beyond 70 feet, but we estimated conservative to that 90-foot mark. So Matt hired the driller, and the driller came out. Nobody was standing on the property. By the way, sidebar, if you're having a well drilled on a property, be on your property. If you can't be there, have your neighbor, if they're a friend, be there, or your brother-in-law or your wife or anybody, be there during the entire drilling process, beginning to end. That means for the pump test, development, you name it, be there so that you can know what's going on and you can ask questions. I mean, you might not know what to ask, but it's not that hard. Just say, what are you doing now? What are you seeing? What are you finding? You know, be annoying. It's your property. It's your money. You're spending it. You might as well be there, watch the process. And it kind of keeps things kind of on the straight and narrow, we'll say. Anyway, Matt wasn't there, unfortunately. And he called me. I remember he called me and he said, hey, they're at, I think it was something like 60 or 70 feet, about where our bottom was. And they said they got some water, but it was a little bit dirty. I told him to keep drilling. That's what he said. And if you get to 140 feet, stop, because I don't want to drill any deeper than that. Guess how deep they drilled? 140 feet. Shocking, right? Anyway, they drilled to 140 feet. And in their well report, by the way, it's right here. Most states you have to post it. It gets posted to a database. So this is the well report. And in their well log, I'm just going to read it because I haven't memorized it completely. But in their well log, on the first day they drilled, because they got there late in the day, they encountered sand and gravel between 37 and 61 feet. Okay. A perfect formation, well known in the area for water. Okay. So they come back out the next day. Oh, again, they told him, oh, maybe 3 gallons a minute. It's kind of silty. We're not sure if it's going to be good water. Okay. They get to drill deeper. So they come back out the next day. They drill to the 140 feet. And then they say they got some sand maybe at 92 to 127, but they said they didn't use it. In the well log, it says they didn't use that formation. So I'm not sure if they were trying to justify the depth that they drilled. Anyway, they pulled everything back and they developed that zone between 37 and 60. And when I say develop, they put a screen in that zone between 37 and 61 feet. And they did a lift test of 9 gallons a minute. Now, I don't want to belabor this, but again, when I say 9 gallons a minute, or when they say 9 gallons a minute, we can't bank on that, but I can tell you that's right in the range of the area. So he's probably got somewhere between 8 and 15 gallons a minute, maybe 7 and 15 gallons a minute without even a pump test. So it was a successful well, but the driller got paid for an extra 70 or almost 80 feet of drilling. Don't do that. If they get done and have the well, if they encounter water shallow and they're trying to talk in and drill deeps, tell them to stop go back and work on that formation in the upper part and see what it comes out at. Have them spend a little time on it, develop it a little bit, do some airlift on it or something to see if it will produce water. Because ultimately, this is the water. That water at that 37 to 61 feet is what Matt ended up getting water from. And it was a good well. I talked to him later on. I talked to some of his neighbors. All the wells in the area were good. In fact, we did a big kind of case study on that whole thing that I put in the book that I just wrote on seismoelectric exploration. This really cool book right here. His case study is actually in this report. Well, it's not his property. It's multiple properties in the area that we did a big detailed case study. So if you want to learn more about that, it's in the book. You can find it there. If you have any questions, holler at me. Let me know. Please don't forget to share this video with anybody that you know that needs some help with a water well or finding a place to drill. I'm going to sign off. It's a minute past. I've gone long today. I have lots of words to use. And I'm going to call that guy from Idaho and see what I can do to help him. He sent me some information. So wish me luck. Pray for me if you do that. I would love to be able to help this guy and maybe solve his problem without charging him money. That would be ideal. That'd be perfect. You guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a great weekend coming up. Please don't forget to message us if you have any questions. Doesn't have to be now. It could be anytime. AquaLocate.com. You can find our information there. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great one. See ya.